Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that really is a fact. And I'm not saying there aren't exercises that everyone probably should be doing, and I'm not saying there aren't exercises that most people should be doing, but the simple reality is there is no one exercise that is required to gain muscle, and there is no one exercise that if you don't do that exercise means a given muscle won't grow. Okay, that's just not factual. That's not reality. That's not the way the body works. Exercises and movements are simply tools that we use towards reaching goals. Now, when I make some of those statements, do I still say everyone should be doing some type of squat? You bet, because it's efficient. It builds strength. It builds athleticism. I think everyone should be doing some sort of pull from the floor, aka a deadlift. But it doesn't mean you need to do those exact identical classic versions all the time. And I'm not saying that just for power lifters. And I think people need to remember that. But the truth is the barbell squat required to grow your quads? No. Is it a pretty useful tool, especially for novices? Yes. And I think this is where we create the confusion, because I'm one of the people who will tell you, I'll agree with that. There is no one exercise that you have to do. But what I am going to tell you, if you're going to try to, as a novice lifter, if you're going to try to just throw away these tools because you think you can do some other combination of exercises and you don't know what you're doing, best of luck to you. In other words, I only perform singles on some of these classic lifts. I don't do volume work on the back squat. I don't do volume work on the deadlift. I still have a massive lower body. But by comparison, look how many different exercises I have to do and how much training volume I have to use and how complex it is. Okay? Because for advanced lifters, we have reasons for doing that. So as a novice lifter, you're probably better off doing the barbell back squat as a primary lower body exercise. Okay, you can load it. It requires relatively little equipment compared to your alternatives. Okay, and you can get a lot done with a single movement. Now, a lot of people don't like that because it's hard, but you know what? Suck it up, sweetheart. If you want to gain muscle and strength, and yes, the two are connected, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work hard. That's just a simple reality. But conversely, if you were to take the barbell squat and say, well, I don't want to do the barbell squat, I could do some other combination of exercises to work all those same muscles. Okay, that's fine. You're going to have to do a bunch of muscles for your back. You have to do or exercises for your quads. When you start looking at how you're going to have to set it up and be able to recover from it, you're going to spend 3 times as much time in the gym. You're going to have to learn the movement patterns on multiple exercises and know the leg press is not a replacement. I'm not a fan of the leg press for a number of reasons. This thing is just inefficient use of gym time. You have to load so much weight on it. And you're still going to have to do other exercises that I prefer other things for someone who's going to build quads with a non-squat alternative. Possibly a hack squat machine, that might be okay. Hip belt squat, step ups. But the problem we get into is that all these things have longer setup time. They're all going to keep you in the gym longer, and you're still going to have to train the other muscles related to the squat. So you're still going to have to train all that back musculature. You're going to end up doing 3 different exercises, some of which take more time to set up, just trying to replicate what you get from the squat. Now you could do it, but my point being, as a novice lifter particularly, the squat is just going to be a very efficient and effective use of your time. You're going to get more out of it. You're going to get more out of it. Is it necessary? No. And in fact, I mean, even in my case, I only back squat and use variations of the back squat for maxes. Right? But I still do the lifts. And that's a distinction. I still use them for my max work. Use other movements to build up. Same thing with the deadlift. I do good mornings. I do glute ham raises. I do rows. I do all these things to build the muscles up for the deadlift. But I still pull heavy. So, I mean, you could look at it this way, but think about the mileage you get. A simple bench press. Okay, bench press. Look how many muscles it works in the upper body. It's a phenomenal upper body builder. Does it mean that it's the best chest exercise ever? No. No. In fact, for some people's structures, there might be other exercises that can add more meat to your chest slightly faster than the bench press. Okay? Depending upon the person. But we kind of come back over to, really, aren't those falling into the category of supplemental lifts? In other words, there's no reason to be against an exercise that is effective and works large amounts of muscle. There's no reason to be against it. In fact, I'd make the argument that, socially speaking, coming in and bench pressing is, again, it's very, very acceptable. And everyone's going to ask you when you lift, what do you bench? And if you actually do start to look like you lift, and then when people say, hey man, what do you bench? Average person on the street, you're going to say, oh, I don't bench press. You know? They don't understand that. That just looks silly to them. So there's no reason to eschew these classic lifts. There's no reason to say, oh, I'm just not going to do them because they're not necessary. Well, that's a bad reason. That's a bad reason. As we come back over to the point, novice lifters need to be focusing on, and most people out there are novices, they need to be focusing on what's going to give them the most bang for their buck in the gym. They need to do the biggest movements possible to work the most muscles possible for most of their training. Now, does that mean that those exercises are always going to build everything that you want completely? No, but that's why we have other supplemental lifts. Okay, we have other supplemental lifts, and arguably some of those supplemental lifts will hit certain muscles better than those classic lifts. That's true, they will. They will. But 5 things I would say that most of you should be doing at least a basic classic barbell lifts of these 5 lifts: squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, rows of some type, right? You're going to build your foundation with that. They're efficient, they're easy. Not easy, but they're easy to program for novice lifters. They work a lot of muscle. Now, does that mean that's all you should do? Of course not. There's other things you can work in, and you can certainly work on some weak points and do some other stuff, but I wouldn't neglect those for it. Now, but we come over to the point. Are they necessary? No. Depending on a person's structure, we could make a good case. I think definitely the floor press, as you see me doing here. Floor press is arguably a better chest exercise than the bench, but the floor press also makes your bench go up. The beauty of a lift like the floor press, your 1 rep max bench press will go up from the floor press, even if you haven't been benching sometimes, if you do a lot of this. Could we make the case that maybe a weighted dip, or even high rep body weight dips, or dumbbell chest presses in some cases might give a little better stimulation to the chest? Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Are any of those necessary? No. You could probably still build a maximum chest with enough volume off of any of those. Care whether it's the dumbbell, the dip, the bench, floor press, for most of you guys, right? You could technically build your chest with flies, but then you're going to leave other muscles neglected, and you're going to have to do a lot more work. You're just going to have to do more and more exercises simply because you chose to eschew a big exercise. Like, you're not making stuff easier for yourself, right? You're not making stuff easier for yourself by doing that. You're just going to end up having to do more. You're going to have a greater margin for error. A greater margin for error. So again, don't disregard big lifts. Just because we come over to that factual reality that, yeah, it's true. No exercise is required. Tension is tension. Muscles only know tension. But when we start getting into really small minutia exercises and they start taking up the bulk of your volume, you're also very likely to have large muscle imbalances, because bigger muscles bigger exercises will work more muscles. They're going to work more muscles. And so when you start disregarding them for smaller exercises, you're far more likely to develop imbalances quicker. It'll give you a higher chance of injury. It can make you less athletic. Right? So people have to have balance there. There's a middle ground between saying, hey, these exercises are important and everyone should do them, and saying, well, but tension is tension and no one exercise is required. I think when we get too far in either direction and you get too dogmatic either way instead of finding a balance between those two, that's where I think you start to, number one, look stupid and silly. right? Number two, you start to have issues with your training. Okay, you have to have a little common sense. You got to find some balance between those extremes and figure out, hey, what's going to actually work? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.